So yeah, it takes a couple of seconds for the thing to start, and the ending has been funny here and there, I noticed, but let's hope it will work this time around. So, this guy, hey, he went up Chamundi Hill and that happened. Anyway, the last time, the place that's marked as where we've ended, this single word responsibility. Responsibility as this guy understands it. Let's continue from there. Let us settle what we mean by the word at the start. Responsibility is a much misunderstood term. It's been used so widely and indiscriminately that it has lost much of its inner voltage. Responsibility does not mean taking on the burdens of the world. It does not mean accepting blame for things you have done or not done. It does not mean living in a state of perpetual guilt. Responsibility simply means your ability to respond. If you decide I'm responsible, you will have the ability to respond. If you decide I'm not responsible, you will not have the ability to respond. It is as simple as that. I'm not sure how that translates into brains who've been born into other languages, but hey, all it requires is for you to realize that you are responsible for all that you are and all that you are not. All that may happen to you and all that may not happen to you. This is not a mind game. Not a mind game. This is not a self-help strategy for easy living. This is not a philosophical theory. This is a reality, he says. Your physical existence is possible only because of your body's seamless ability to respond to the entire universe. Now he gets yogi again. If your body wasn't responding, you wouldn't be able to exist for a moment. Do you see that? I don't think I'm seeing that as a reader, but hey. What the trees around you are exhaling, you are inhaling right now. What you are exhaling, the trees are inhaling at this very moment. Well, not in this room, but hey, there's one plant here, indeed. Oh, blocks. The disgusting sound of the alarm means it's tea time again. So that means lots of horrendous, disgusting drinking noises that do let me know how you feel about them. I tend to mute them, but anyway. So anyway, if you're here for some yoga, possibly quality content, preferably then not provided by me, the tea the potion that gets drunk right now is called prana. Literally, it's the same Ayurveda, guys. Everest Ayurveda, guys. If you're familiar with the word prana by this point, that's literally the name of the brew. So that's here on the table, and that needs to be consumed. So lots of apologies that kind. It's gonna be organic. Damn, it's hot. Anyway, responsibility according to this guy. Anyway, the trees are inhaling what we are exhaling. Yes, this transaction is ongoing. Whether you are aware of it or not, one half of your pulmonary system is hanging up there, right now, on a tree. You have never experienced this interdependence. You have probably at the most thought about it intellectually, but if you had experienced this connection, Would anyone have to tell you plant trees, protect the forest, save the world? Would it even be necessary? The one politics stream on my YouTube channel. But hey, taking responsibility is 7 minutes. Taking responsibility is not a convenient philosophy to reconcile you the way things are. To reconcile you to the way things are. Apologies. It is simply waking up to reality. This ability to respond to the entire universe is already a physical reality. It is only your thoughts and emotions that need to become conscious of the fact. Suppose something goes wrong in your office. Perhaps you think it was due to a particular colleague's ineptitude. You could haul her up, lose your temper, fire her. Your blood pressure is likely to rise. The office atmosphere will be vitiated. The after effects of your rage will probably be felt by you and your fellow workers for days and weeks after the incident. You will probably have to work particularly hard at restoring the peace and re-establishing a situation of mutual trust. There is another choice. You could simply see the situation the way it is and take responsibility for it. Taking responsibility is not accepting blame instead of assigning it. It simply means consciously responding to the situation. Once you take responsibility, you will invariably start exploring ways to address the situation. You will look for solutions. If you are frequently in this mode, your ability to craft your life situations will keep enhancing itself. With this enhanced competence to deal with life and its multiple complexities, you begin to rise to positions of possibility and power. If you assume absolute responsibility within yourself for all that is around you, you will become the center of any situation at home, work, or even the universe. Since you become indispensable to these situations, there is no sense of insecurity or incompleteness within you anymore. Background happenings. It was around here somewhere last time anyway. I was sitting right here. But what? Yeah, apologies. Indispensable. Where are you? Stuff sitting on the keyboard. Apologies. Thank you. Essential, necessary, requisite, vital. Since you will become vital to these situations, there is no sense of insecurity or incompleteness within you anymore, he says. Only if you realize you are responsible do you have the freedom to create yourself the way you want to be. To create yourself the way you want to be. Only if you realize you are responsible. You have the freedom to create yourself the way you want to be. Not as a reaction to the situations in which you exist. More organic apologies. Now these two sentences comes in cursive, in italic. Reactivity is enslavement. Responsibility is freedom. When you are able to create yourself the way you want, you can create your life the way you want as well. Your outer life may not be 100% in your control, but your inner life always will. On the other hand, the first reaction, anger, usually provokes unintelligent action. Anger is fundamentally self-defeating. If you look at your life closely, you will find that you have done the most idiotic and life-negative things when you were angry. Above all, you were working against yourself. If you work against yourself, if you sabotage your own well-being, you are obviously choosing unintelligence as a way of life. I'm not propounding a moral argument here. I am not telling you that you should not lose your temper because it is ethically wrong. If anger is a pleasant experience, blow your top. What's the problem? The point is, it is singularly unpleasant for you and for those at the receiving end. It is also counterproductive and therefore inefficient. I am not offering a rage control or anger management strategy either. When I first came to the United States, I heard everybody talking about stress management. It puzzled me. Why would anybody want to manage stress? I always thought we managed the things that are precious to us, our money, our business, our family. It took me time to see that people have assumed that stress is an inevitable part of their lives. They do not see that it is entirely self-created and self-inflicted. Once you take charge of your inner life, there is no such thing as stress. Or you can practice Bhakti Yoga. The point is that anger is rooted in your false perception that you can change the situation by losing your temper with it. Or any other type of method. Continue, have fun, having fun with your gardening. To the point of perfection, for example. I don't know. It might be what it is. Incidentally, manage stress. They do not see that this blah blah blah. That anger is entirely self-created and self-inflicted. Once you take charge of your inner life, there is no such thing as stress. I was knowing no such thing as a Bhakti Yogi. I was one unending, unlimited torrent of inspiration coming from above somewhere, aren't you? And bliss and fun and joy of life. That's a thing that can be taken away from you. That did mostly happen to me. But anyway, the point is that anger is rooted in your false perception that you can change the situations by losing your temper with it. But your life experiences tells you time and again that the reverse is true. That you can never change any situation for the better by forsaking your sense and intelligence. You only mess up your situations by getting angry. Once you see that clearly, you've taken the first step toward change. Oh my. Just count how many types of yoga, parts of yoga are there, you know. He's not doing any established method, he's doing his own thing, dude. It's like, anyway, Sadhguru, ty vole, anyway. Yeah, and that guy, and that guy, and that guy. I have seen a couple of gurus on the YouTube. You know who you are. The Brahman lesson. What is Brahman? That was extremely fun. The guy's absolutely great in doing that. Anyway, once you see that clearly, you've taken the first step toward change. Besides, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence to prove that in a state of anger you are literally poisoning your system. This can be verified with something as simple as a blood test. When you are angry, your very chemistry is altered and your system turns toxic. Intense activity and sleep are times when this chemical mess can undo itself. But if you are in frequent states of rage, you are heading toward physical and psychological disaster. There is no doubt about this. There is a commonly held belief that rage produces results. Nothing happens in the world without the adrenaline rush of anger. The iconic figure of the Cuban Revolution, Che Guevara, famously said, "If you tremble with indignation..." That time again. Get out of the fucking keyboard, thank you. If you tremble with rozhořčení pobouření. If you tremble with indignation at every injustice, you are a comrade of mine. Perhaps that is true, but in rage, you become one with the group. Out of rage, you become one with the universe. Once it happened, story time, beware, brace yourself. A gentleman carrying an infant was traveling from London to Bristol on a train. Another gentleman entered the compartment, dumped his 2 huge suitcases and sat beside the first. As you know, Englishmen don't immediately speak to each other, so the first gentleman waited very politely for a while. Then he turned to the second passenger and said, "Looking at your suitcases, I presume you are a salesperson." "I am also one." The German said, "Yes, I'm a salesman." Another genteel pause. And then the first passenger asked, "What do you sell?" The other replied, "I sell helical gears." Or helical gears. I have not seen this word either. But anyway. Another decorous silence. Then he asked the first gentleman, "And what do you sell?" He said, "I sell condoms." Shocked, the second gentleman said, "You sell condoms and you are taking your son with you on your business? Is that appropriate?" "This is not my son," replied the first passenger. "It's a complaint from Bristol." Human beings are in a perennial state of complaint. That is what I think, right? Yeah, anyway. They carry their complaints with them like a badge of their identity. There are many who live their lives lamenting that life has been particularly unfair to them. They cite instances of all the terrible things that have befallen them, the chances they never got, the many injustices they have suffered. Maybe it is even true. What most people forget is that the past exists within each one of us only as memory. Memory has no objective existence. It is not existential, it is purely psychological. If you retain your ability to respond, your memory of the past will become an empowering process. But if you are in a compulsive cycle of reactivity, memory distorts your perception of the present, and your thoughts, emotions, and actions become disproportionate to the stimulus. The choice is always before you, to respond consciously to the present or to react compulsively to it. There is a vast difference between the two, and it can make the world of a difference. If terrible things have happened to you, you ought to have grown wise. If the worst possible events have befallen you, you should be the wisest of the lot. But instead of growing wise, most people become wounded and die. In a state of conscious response, it is possible to use every life situation, however ugly, as an opportunity for growth. But if you habitually think, I am the way I am because of someone else, you are using life situations merely as an opportunity for self-destruction or stagnation. I once heard a moving account of a woman who used one of the most horrific life situations to transform herself into a beautiful being. In the beginning of the Second World War, a bunch of Nazi soldiers broke into a house in Austria. They took the adults away separately, and the two children, a 13-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy, were taken to a railway station. As they waited along with other children for the train to arrive, the boys started a game. Oblivious to what lay in store, they started playing, as children are wont. The heck is this? As children are wont to do. Anyway, a cargo train arrived, and the soldiers started packing everyone into it. Once they were in, the little girl noticed that her brother had forgotten to bring his shoes. It was an Austrian winter, a bitter one. Without shoes, you could lose your feet. The girl lost her temper. She shook her kid brother, boxed his ears, and abused him. You idiot, don't we have enough trouble on our hands? We don't know where your parents are. Our parents are. We don't know where we are going, and now you go and lose your shoes. What am I supposed to do with you? At the next station, the boys and girls were separated. And that is the last that the brother and sister ever saw of each other. About 3.5 years later, the girl came out of the concentration camp. She discovered she was the only one alive in her family. Everyone else had vanished, including her brother. All that remained was the memory of the harsh words she had uttered the last time she had seen him alive. That was when she made a life-changing decision. It doesn't matter who I meet, I will never speak to them in a manner that I regret later, because this meeting could be my last. She could have spent her life in defeat and remorse, but she made the simple decision which transformed her life phenomenally. She went on to live a rich and fulfilled life. And the most horrific things in life can be a source of nourishment if you accept I am responsible for the way I am now. It is possible to transform the greatest adversity into a stepping stone for personal growth. If you take 100% responsibility for the way you are now, a brighter tomorrow is a possibility. But if you take no responsibility for the present, if you blame your parents, your friend, your husband, your girlfriend, your colleagues for the way you are, you have forsaken your future even before it comes. You come into this world with nothing and you go empty-handed. The wealth of life lies only in how you have allowed its experiences to enrich you. Filth can blossom into the fragrance of a flower. Manure can transform itself into the sweetness of a mango. No adversity is an impediment if you are in a state of conscious response. No matter what the nature of the situations you are in, it can only enhance your experience of life if you allow it to. Resentment, anger, jealousy, pain, hurt, and depression are poisons that you drink but expect someone else to die, he says. What if they just happen, kurva? More. Life does not work that way. Most people take lifetimes to understand the simple truth. Now that we have established what responsibility is, it is time to look at what it is not. Let us start by clearing up a few fundamental misconceptions. For one, many believe that taking responsibility compromises their freedom. This seems to be logically true on a simplistic level. Existentially, it is completely off the mark. Let us consider a concrete scenario. Your pen falls off a table. If you see you are responsible for it, you have several choices before you. You could simply bend down and pick it up. If you're unable to do that, you could ask someone to help. Or if you aren't inclined to act on it right now, you might pick it up later. You have a variety of options. If, on the other hand, you don't take responsibility for it, what can you do? Nothing. Which is freedom, to have choices or to have none? Your logical mind tells you, give up all responsibility and you will be free. But if you experience, in your experience of life, the more you are able to respond to everything around you, the freer you are. The logical and experiential dimensions of life work in the diametrically opposite ways. Logic is not without its uses, but these help only to handle the material aspects of life. If you handle your entire life with logic alone, you will end up in a mess. You will end up a mess. Apologies. Secondly, people often confuse responsibility with reaction. We have already demonstrated earlier that there is a world of difference between the two. The first is born in awareness, the second in unawareness. The first is born in consciousness, the second in unconsciousness. The first is freedom, the second enslavement. It is time to make yet another distinction. Responsibility is not reaction, but it is not action either. Responsibility and action belong to different dimensions. The ability to respond gives you the freedom to act. It also gives you the freedom not to act. It puts you in the driver's seat of your life. It empowers you to decide the nature and volume of action you want to undertake. Your responsibility is not compulsive action. It offers you the choice of action. Can you act upon everything in the world today? No. But you can respond to everything in the world today. Action has to be judiciously performed, depending on a careful analysis of resources, strength, capability, energy, age, situation. Your ability to act is always limited, but there are no limitations on your ability to respond. If you are willing, you can respond to just about anything. Just because you are responsible for your children, are you able to do everything for them? If you did everything for them, you would mess up their lives. Your sense of responsibility makes you do certain things for them and not do others. So, responsibility does not mean unbridled action, far from it. How, you may ask, are you responsible for the violence and injustice in the world? How are you responsible for the war and the bloodshed, the atrocities against the marginal and the underprivileged all over the world? Certainly you are not to blame for any of it. But the moment you become conscious of any of these events, you do respond, either in concern, love, care, hate, anger, indignation, or even action. It is just that this is often an unconscious reaction rather than a conscious response. If you make this ability to respond into a willing process, that marks the birth of a tremendous new possibility within you. Your inner genius begins to flower. Can you then respond to the moon? You can. Your body and life energy certainly do. When entire oceans rise in response to the cycles of the moon, do you think the water content in your own system doesn't rise as well? Maybe you aren't an astronaut, maybe you can never walk on the moon, but you can respond to the moon. In fact, you already do. You can just choose to do it willingly, consciously. And that brings us to the fourth misconception. Many think responsibility means capability. Ron again. When it comes to action, capability could play a role, but when it comes to response, it is just a question of willingness. If you see someone dying on the street, are you responsible? If you are willing to respond, you will explore various options. If you are a doctor, you will try direct intervention. If you are not, you may call an ambulance. Or if all this is being done by someone else, you will at least have concern in your heart. But if you are not responsible, you will just sit there like a stone watching someone die before your eyes. Your ability to respond is the way you are. Only your ability to act is connected with the outside world. Responsibility is not about talking, thinking, or doing. Responsibility is about being. Something happens and we are a certain way. We willingly choose. Something happens and then we stop and willingly choose what we are. What we want to be in relation to that, he says. I don't remember anything of the from the previous streams, and I will not remember this either, but hey, now, this is the way life is, not an independent, self-contained bubble, but a moment-to-moment dialogue with the universe. You don't have to work at making it that way. You just have to see it the way it is. It was rich today. I think I might stop it here. Apologies, everybody. And every teacher and publicly speaking figure will agree that puts your body into under a certain amount of stress or something. Load. I'm aware of that load, and I think it might be quite enough for me just now. So thank you, everybody. This is Sadhguru. He's certainly a very unique guru. It's just completely based on his own experience, that, his own samadhi, that he's been sharing with the world, and he puts it into the words like that, sharing his ignorance with the world, and the world liking it. Basically, he's had a samadhi ek prase, a big one, a really big one, and that's changed him completely, and ever since that he's someone completely different, and he's a completely wondrous person. He's a fully activated yogi, and he's not afraid to show it, and he's doing a lot for all kinds of causes. Anyway, there was one yogi, read by your streamer late, truly. Apologies then. So, see you. Thank you very much. Bye.